कुमार स्वामी नायक गोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
In the news tonight, we did not have enough time, says Dr. Tupeni Mbamba. MPs set to be charged by FICAC. And another Rambuka controversy grips Sodelpa.
From the studios of FBC Suva, Edwin Nana.
Pulumnaga, Fiji. The chair of the independent interview panel for the Sodelpa leadership says they did not have enough time to properly vet the candidates. Dr. Tupeni Mbamba has defended the panel and his involvement, saying they came on board to lend their expertise and not to push someone's agenda. Dr. Mbamba has spoken for the first time about time constraints, saying he has written to Sodelpa President Ratu Epenisa Thakumbau, explaining that they were put in a tough position from the outset.
We are not in a situation in a short discussion, right, to be able to capture all aspects of it. I wanted to make it very clear to them as a professional that in as far as we observe it in our discussion, that was the impression we put on it. But being a professional, I said, there are many aspects of this, and we can go and spend a day or two collecting all sorts of data, but we haven't got that time. This has got a short time frame. Our interview was 1 hour.
Since his appointment, the former politician and current academic was constantly attacked by Sodelpa MPs and party executives. Even with the interview process complete and Sodelpa leaders appointed, the integrity and independence of Dr. Mbamba and the panel continue to be called into question.
I think twice about participating in this kind of assessment, although I want to go and help the party that I formed, and I'm familiar with it. I believe in having parties to grow democracy.
Dr. Mbamba says in his letter, he's tried to give guidance and advice to Ratu Epenisa on what qualities a leader must display and the discipline he or she must bring to the party. At least 7 members of parliament who allegedly claimed travel and accommodation allowances they were not entitled to are expected to be charged by the Fiji Independent Commission Against Corruption this week. These MPs have been interviewed by FICAC and are from the opposition and one from government. It is alleged that these MPs breached the Parliamentary Remuneration Act 2014.
The matter came to light in May this year when Parliament Secretary General Vinyana Namosi Maluwa took the matter up to FICAC in relation to allegations of possible breaches of travel and accommodation allowances involving certain members of Parliament. 9 MPs, including Fiji First Government MP Vijendra Prakash, opposition MPs Salote Randronro, Pedeli Vosanimbola, Ratu Nengama Lalambalavu, Andi Litiang Yonimbaravi, Moses Mbulitavu, Ratu Suliano Motinitambua, Nico Navaikula and Aseri Randronro were questioned at the FICAC office between May and August this year. FBC News understands that Aseri Randronro is not amongst those who are likely to be charged. FICAC had earlier confirmed receiving the complaint from the Parliament Secretary General. FICAC officers conducted a search at the Sodelpa headquarters in July to obtain information and documentation relating to party membership and registration relating to residential addresses of the MPs in question. FBC News understands that some MPs were interviewed yesterday and others are expected to be questioned soon. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
Just when you thought the Sodelpa split could not attract any more controversy, there's more looming problems for the trouble-riddled party with fresh accusations of a different kind against Sitiveni Rambuka. After being rejected by his party over the weekend, Rambuka is now facing more problems that could further widen the gap between the two very obvious party factions.
The media industry is buzzing this afternoon as unofficial reports of harassment by recently ousted party leader Sitiveni Rambuka is being verified by the party president. Sodelpa President Ratu Epenisa Thakumbau says he is checking party records to ascertain whether reports of Rambuka harassing a party worker is true or not.
Maybe it's there in the headquarters, I don't know. I'll have to have a look at it. There's a few things there which I need to have to look at, and maybe, I honestly don't know. I'm not really sure.
Rambuka admits that a female party member filed a complaint against him after a recent meeting.
I'm only aware of the complaint brought up as a grievance in the management board meeting about my tone at the meeting.
So Delpa has been mired in controversy for many months now, with a major power struggle plaguing the country's biggest opposition party as it spills into two factions, with new disputes and backstabbing now almost a daily occurrence. Apeniso Wanggerdobu, FBC News.
Studies have shown that stigma and discrimination against people with HIV, sex workers and the LGBTQI community is still a pressing issue in the country. Speaker of Parliament Ratu Ipeli Nailatika says 60% of female sex workers surveyed in Fiji reported avoiding HIV testing due to fear of stigma from, above all, healthcare providers. Kritika Kumar reports.
The survey reveals that 30% of homosexuals ignore undertaking a HIV test due to the fear of victimization.
HIV testing among these key populations is low. 25% female sex workers and 42% men who have sex with men.
Ratu Ipeli Nailatika says responsibilities need to be shared to reduce the impact of HIV, with COVID-19 already causing a havoc.
There must be global solidarity and shared responsibility to ensure that no individual, community or country is left behind in accessing life-saving health commodities.
The health minister says discrimination is something that knows no end.
It's a slippery slide, and continue to push this issue with our Minister of Health staff all over Fiji, that we should never involve ourselves in any form of discrimination to anyone seeking support and seeking our services in any of our facilities.
The speaker also highlighted that the human rights approach applied everywhere will produce sustainable results. He adds the rights of women, girls and gender equality should be at the center. Kritika Kumar, FBC News.
Up ahead, climate risk insurance for Fiji. And pine industry starting to bloom.
मैं तो दिल्ली में रहता हूँ और रेडियो फीजी बहुत रेडियो फीजी रोज सुनता हूँ.
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन.
Welcome back. A climate risk insurance solution will soon be available in Fiji and the Pacific, funded by the United Nations and the governments of Australia and New Zealand. The initiative is designed to improve financial preparedness for homes, communities, small businesses and organizations. Koroita Ndulala reports.
While launching the initiative today, New Zealand High Commissioner to Fiji, Jonathan Kerr, says insurance packages will be targeted at agriculture, fisheries, retail and tourism sectors and small and micro businesses.
New Zealand would spend at least $300 million on climate change development assistance from 2019 until 2022. In addition, 2/3 of this would be focused on the Pacific, and at least half focused on adaptation activities.
Starting with Fiji and Vanuatu, the Climate Adaptation Program will provide market-based climate risk insurance solutions.
The New Zealand Government recognises that through this program, private sector participation in finding sustainable solutions through need-based climate risk insurance products will unlock both private and public capital, all delivering benefits hitherto unavailable in the Pacific.
Pacific's UNDP resident representative Levan Bodsi says the initiative is the first of its kind.
That aims to bring the market-based climate disaster risk financing instruments such as parametric insurance. The idea is that these financial instruments, they are aimed to address the immediate post-disaster financial needs of vulnerable Pacific islanders.
The programs called Leaving No One Behind in the Digital Era, Pacific Insurance and Climate Adaptation will be tested in Fiji and Vanuatu for the next 2 years. Koroita Ndulala, FBC News.
The Fijian government remains committed to providing investment opportunities and has set its priority on expanding opportunities to investment in communities, especially among the young. Minister for Education, Heritage and Arts Rosie Akbar says micro, small and medium enterprises contribute to over 80% of Fiji's GDP and employ about 50% of the labour market. She says the government remains deeply committed to ensuring that medium and small enterprises have the support they require to generate demand and business activity.
We have also introduced a business startup initiative program with an allocation of $150,000. There is also small business scheme programs of $1 million as well as concessional loans to micro, small and medium enterprises programs with a $30 million allocation under the current budget.
3 pine scheme areas in Fiji have managed to earn over $50,000 in 2 months from the sale of pine. The Fiji Pine Trust says this is returned from the sale of about 86.94 cubic meters of pine from Narotake in Ngau, as well as Nangara and Kete in the Lau province. Josiah Nanunga has more.
The demand from pine merchants has picked up, and this is helping empowering resource owners.
In 3 months, just within 3 months, we see the aspirations of pine resource owners, the needs. You know, they've been looking at pine for so long. What will become of them? Now that we've come on board together with the government, we are so thankful that we have provided a leeway in terms of livelihood for resource owners out there in the pine scheme areas. Yeah?
The Fiji Pine Trust strengthened its operations following TC Herald responding to the government rehabilitation program in boosting wood production in maritime islands.
And right now we have assisted government on Kantavu, and we have assisted in particular our resource owners on Ono Island in Kantavu, who are now venturing into business ventured approaches for the improvement of livelihood and economic empowerment on the island.
Chair of the Kete Development Project, Wetasau Tuikete, says the initiative has enabled them to commercialize their pine timber for their benefit.
We are really excited about this development and the first payment of this weekend term is a dream come true for our development purposes.
Plans are in place to harvest more pine in the Via and Matuku Islands before moving on to Vitilevu and Wonolevu. Josiah Nanunga, FBC News.
The revised family planning training package for healthcare workers has been launched to upskill staff. The package will also ensure quality services for women and men in terms of reproductive health. Minister for Health Dr. Efiremi Wanganambete says the training will assist the ministry provide access to family planning and reduce the unmet need of reproductive health. Dr. Wanganambete adds 1/3 of the population is young and they need to take responsibility for their lives. He adds safe sex should be practiced as the health facilities and staff stand ready to support Fijians in their journey for a healthy adulthood.
No girl child or no young lady should ever leave school or commit suicide just because they are pregnant. We have contraceptives available to assist them to enjoy their sexual life safely and reasonably while they complete school or tertiary education.
And to business now with Apanisa.
Thanks, Edwin. Coming up, Central Bank revises projection. And in growing Fiji, new multi-million-dollar project to create jobs. Stay with us.
Pula natang ko approach lang kerse, go erkraki. Do televizyon na barong na Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Radio Fiji 1 nandomo ibiti.
Welcome back. The Reserve Bank of Fiji has revised its projections for economic contraction, saying it is expected to be smaller than initially anticipated. The economy is likely to contract by 19% this year compared to the earlier estimate of 21.7%, thanks to higher than expected growth in the agriculture sector. The RBF adds this is also due to lower than anticipated declines in various sectors, including the wholesale and retail, trade, restaurants and hotels, manufacturing and construction sectors. Next year's projected recovery, pegged at between 1.6 and 8%, largely hinges on the opening of international borders and the resumption of travels. Up to October, visitor travels declined by 80.7%, while net value-added tax collections fell by 41.1%. Bank loans for consumption purposes also fell by 26.8%. New lending for building and construction declined by 24.9%. The RBF Job Advertisement Survey recorded a 64.3% decline in vacancies. The S&P 500 and Nasdaq composite indexes closed at record highs today, with investors betting a COVID-19 vaccine will be available soon and more confident about a speedy economic recovery following upbeat Chinese factory data. Sniffer from HFC Bank joins us now with the latest from the trading world.
The US dollar stayed near a 2.5-year low as investors cautiously eyed developments in talks about further fiscal stimulus from the US, while risk currencies held on to gains on improving risk appetite. Against major currencies, the US dollar index fell 0.7%, having hit its lowest level since late April 2018. Also weighing the dollar was weaker than expected US manufacturing activity data and speculation that the Federal Reserve will act to support the economy before vaccinations become available. Meanwhile, Australia's economy handily beat forecasts last quarter, rebounding from a coronavirus-induced contraction helped by massive stimulus, while growth is expected to be even stronger this quarter with near zero new COVID cases. The economy expanded by 3.3% in the 3 months to September, against a forecast of 2.6%. Despite the brisk pace of quarterly growth, GDP still contracted 3.8% on an annual basis, suggesting the recession-stricken economy is not out of the woods yet and that policy support will be needed for some time. That's all for now from HFC Bank, Vinaka.
Here are the local exchange rates as at early this morning. The Fiji dollar was pegged higher against the Chinese yuan, US dollar and the Japanese yen, but lost ground versus our major trading partners, the Aussie and Kiwi dollar, including the PNG Kina and the euro. Prices on the commodities market were mixed. Oil prices fell to around $44 a barrel, gold rose to $1,812 per ounce, and silver closed up at $23.75 per ounce. Around 500 jobs are expected to be created through a multi-million-dollar project in Lautoka within the next 3 years. The New World Private Limited will start construction on their storage and distribution center in Wairambetia, Lautoka from next year. Pranita Prakash reports.
Despite the current economic uncertainty, one of the largest retail chains is taking a bold step.
This $30 million project will consist of a distribution centre complete with fresh and frozen facilities. Our corporate offices, which are currently split between Suva and Bar, will be consolidated into one central office space with a training facility and catering facilities that will be used for both in-house and outsourcing externally.
The 2-year project will be carried out in 2 phases.
The construction will basically employ at least 500 people, but there's a ripple effect. The supplier, paint supplier, so more people will be employed or continue to be employed because with such developments. The overall phase budget is around 110 million, but we're continuing with the phase 1, which is around 35 to 40 million.
This is one of the 10 major development projects which has been approved by the Department of Town and Country Planning. Work on the storage and distribution centre is expected to be completed by 2023. Pranita Prakash, FBC News.
And that's all from Business Tonight. Jamie joins us now with the latest from sports.
Thank you and good evening. In Sports Tonight, break a blessing for Suva. And Wairiki Sevens starts a day early. Details after the break.
कुमार साहब नायक है बोंगो लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में
The postponement of the Vodafone Fiji Fact Finals has come at an ideal time for the Vinsworks Suva football side. The Whites were severely affected by injuries during pool play, and the deferment of games has given them an opportunity to recover. Tale Materkula reports.
The one-week break has given injured players ample time to get their form back before the semis.
For us, I think Kelvin Naidu and Simon Nimbenu, they were the major ones, so I think they are coming into form slowly. I think they started training yesterday, light training yesterday, so I think by Saturday they'll be okay to play.
Pratap adds the Whites will need to come out in full force to tackle the strong Lambasa outfit.
I think playing Lambasa in the home ground is always a big task for any of the teams. I think because in Lambasa, I think mostly the crowd support is mostly for Lambasa, and it's hardly you can see any other teams which have any kind of support there. So it will be a big task for us, but nevertheless we are preparing for the semi-finals and we will be ready for it come Saturday.
Fiji FA Chief Executive Mohammed Yusuf is keeping fingers crossed for the weather to play ball.
So hopefully the weather condition holds, the good playable ground for people to enjoy good football. We are hoping that the teams will continue training this week, the 4 last teams. If everything is okay, people can expect, as I said, some exciting matches.
Suva takes on Lambasa in the second semi-final on Saturday at 1 p.m. at Subrail Park. Tale Materkula, FBC Sports.
The Savu football side is already planning for the new season after winning the President's Cup in the North over the weekend. The team, laced with young talent, is on the right path, according to the former Fiji football great in charge of the side. Akuladama has more.
Former national and silver midfielder Todi Kambakoro has been with Savu for the past few years, and his goal has not changed since they won.
Yeah, what I'm doing is mixing the youth with the senior players. I got some, you would have noticed, I got some senior players, Matthew, Levi, and I got a lot of under 19 coming in. So these guys might play half a season next season, but I'm trying to build for the next 2 or 3 years, as long as depends on how long I'll stay with Savu soccer.
One of the young talents Kambakoro is nurturing is 18-year-old Savu Secondary School Year 13 student Christopher Simmons.
I'm currently the youngest player in the Savu team, and playing alongside Madhu Ndunandamu and Levi Ndungada is such a great experience.
Kambakoro is thankful to Fiji FA for having a tournament like the President Cup for the senior teams during their major events like the Fiji Fact.
The boys are pretty happy, and it's good for football in the North. This is the first time they tried it in the North. It's worked, and it was straight after the IDC, so the whole season we've been occupied playing football.
Savu has been making the senior playoffs for the past 4 years, but Kambakoro is confident they'll make the premier grade soon. Aquila Vama, FBC Sports.
The Vodafone Futsal Inter-District Championship will not be affected by the shifting of the Vodafone Fiji Fact to this weekend. The 2020 Futsal IDC begins tomorrow with 10 teams competing over the next 3 days. While some district reps such as Setereki and Bruce Hughes, Tevita Warnivalu and Felipe Mbarabilala will not be part of the 2020 Futsal IDC due to participation in the Fiji Fact, National Futsal head coach Mira Sahib says they expect competition to be just as good as it was in August.
Vodafone Fiji Fact won't really affect the progress of the Futsal IDC because majority of the players have, are playing in the Futsal League, and they are the ones who will be participating in the Futsal IDC.
Organizers of the Fiji Bita Wairiki Sevens have been forced to start the tournament a day early due to the increased number of teams participating. The tournament, which was officially opened today, was initially scheduled to kick off tomorrow morning. Eleanor Torangavu with the details.
40 teams will be vying for the 2020 Fiji Bita Wairiki Sevens title over the next 3 days.
18 teams from Viti level and about 6 from Viti level, from Vodo level, sorry. And the rest are from Tavini. There's more from outside of Tavini this year than all the previous years.
This is the biggest number of teams to ever play in the Fiji Bita Wairiki Sevens, and it's prompted organizers to make changes to the schedule.
Because of the demand of teams wanting to participate in the tournament, we decided to start a day early so we can cover all the pool games that we needed to complete. So that also on Saturday we should be able to finish at 5 or 4 o'clock so teams can return back to their villages.
Opening the tournament this morning, Taveuni's very own Pio Bosco Tiko Isuva says there will be a lot of talents on display over the next 3 days.
I hope you will showcase your talent so the Fiji Rugby Union selectors can take note and can open some doors so you can be successful in life through rugby.
Defending champions, First Light Taveuni knows this will not be an easy tournament.
Champion for the last 4 years, and we've seen the team and it's been growing all along. And for this year, it's a bit, I think it's a bit tough this year with several teams, with some big teams coming over to Taveuni. But we will not give away our title easily. We'll give it with a good fight.
There are 40 teams in the senior category, 30 in the under-20 category, 32 netball teams and 40 volleyball teams participating in the 13th Fiji Bita Wairiki Sevens here in Taveuni. Eleanor Turangaiwiu, FBC Sports.
Moana Pacifica got its first taste of an on-field training action yesterday in the build-up to this weekend's clash with the Maori All Blacks. In play of the day, the Autumn Nations Cup has come to its business end, and while the Flying Fijians are yet to grace the field, Georgia has been putting on a show, scoring one of the tries of the tournament in their match against Ireland. That's it from sports tonight. Later on in the world of the weird and the wonderful, Lonely Elephant gets new lease of life. This and more coming up.
Baik tu Dendi mereka tahu, Radio Fiji बहुत Radio Fiji रोज tahu.
Radio Fiji 2 देश की धड़कन.
And to weather now with Kritika.
It was another beautiful day, but for some of us it was humid as well. With that, a trough of low pressure with associated cloud and showers is expected to approach the group from northeast and affect the northern parts of the group from tomorrow. Looking at the weather around the country, in the west, again a sunny day and as usual, in need of rain. Eastwards from Pekhaba to Suva, generally a sunny, warm day. And up north, more of the same sunny, warm weather. At seas, moderate southeasterly winds and moderate swells. For the tides, low tide at 3:09 tomorrow morning with high tide at 8:46 p.m. Sunrise at 6:21 a.m. For tomorrow, cloudy periods with some showers and isolated afternoon or evening thunderstorms over Vanuatu, eastern parts and interior of other larger islands. Elsewhere, fine apart from afternoon or evening showers and isolated thunderstorms. For temperatures, we will again have temps hitting the 30s. For Friday, occasional showers and few thunderstorms over the eastern parts and interior of the larger islands. Elsewhere, cloudy periods with afternoon or evening showers and isolated thunderstorms. That's all the weather for now. Have a great evening, and it's back to Edwin.
In Fijian Pulse tonight we ask, is enough being done to create awareness on HIV and AIDS?
I believe most Fijians are not aware of the symptoms of HIV and AIDS, and more awareness is needed.
I don't think so. It should be done in school and starting from home, from parents, regarding this type of situation that's going on in HIV AIDS. So it should be learned from school and from parents too.
I think more still needed to be done regarding AIDS.
More awareness is needed around HIV and AIDS.
In the world of the weird and the wonderful, it's the beginning of a new life for Pakistan's lonely elephant Kavan. He is now heading for a wildlife sanctuary in Cambodia. This report has more. Recapping the main story, Sodelpa leadership interviews needed more time, says Dr. Tupeni Mbamba. MPs set to be charged by FICAC, and another Rambuka controversy has gripped Sodelpa. For these stories and others, you can tune in to our sister radio station Gold FM. To our poll question this week, we are asking, should William Ngavoka be given the position of opposition leader? Visit our FBC website to answer. And to our shot of the day, Adrian captured this shot of the full moon in Suva last night. You can send us newsworthy pictures and videos on email fbcnews@fbc.com.fj or share it with us via our Facebook page. You can also follow and tweet at FBC News or hashtag FBC News. And that is your news this evening. Until tomorrow, Modemanda.
कुमार स्वामी नायक है गोंगवा लुगु लटोका रेडियो फीजी 2 में पुराना गाना लगे हमें बहुत अच्छा लगे।
रेडियो फीजी 2 देश की धड़कन।